We live in an age of glowing screens and restless nights. Picture this. You send a message. You see the three dots typing. And then, silence. Hours pass. Your mind spins. Did I say something wrong? Did I lose them? That tiny pause feels like a tidal wave. Yet psychologists remind us that nearly 95% of what we worry about never actually happens. So why do we still lie awake? Heart pounding. At 2 in the morning? If life itself is so brief, why do we spend it rehearsing disasters that will never arrive? History shows us this is not a modern struggle. Take Emperor Marcus Aurelius of Rome, who carried the weight of an empire yet still wrote in his journals, "Today I escaped anxiety." Or no, I discarded it, because it was within me. Thousands of years earlier in India, the Buddha taught that clinging to certainty is the very seed of suffering. He saw that our minds, like overprotective guards, try to shield us from danger, but in doing so, they imprison us. Even in America's founding years, Benjamin Franklin confessed that his greatest battles were not with politics or rivals, but with the restless storms of his own mind. Across cultures and centuries, the same truth echoes. The enemy is rarely the event itself, it is our anxious rehearsal of it. Astrology offers a poetic mirror. When Mercury goes retrograde, communication stumbles, emails vanish, plans shift, misunderstandings multiply. Ancient sky watchers didn't panic at this. They saw it as a cosmic reminder. Control is an illusion. And missteps are part of the cycle. Just as the planets retrace their steps, our own lives repeat lessons until we learn to loosen our grip. The stars tell us in their language what Buddhism has always whispered: flow with change, or be broken by it. Folk tales carry the same medicine. In Persia, sages told of a king who demanded a phrase true in all circumstances. Joyful or sorrowful, the answer came: this too shall pass. The Buddha told a grieving mother seeking to revive her dead child to find one house untouched by death. She found none. Through her tears, she saw what we all resist: impermanence spares no one, and fighting it only deepens the wound. And yet, there is freedom here. Imagine a short practice. You sit, place a hand on your heart, inhale and whisper, "This is worry." Exhale and remind yourself, "In this moment, I am safe." The phone may stay silent. The email may remain unanswered. But you reclaim your presence. One breath, one reminder, and the chain of fear loosens. So the question is not whether worry will come, it will. The question is whether we will let it rob us of the only treasure we truly have, the present moment. Life is short, and every day that passes is a day we will never touch again. As the stars move overhead, as flowers bloom and fade, as nations rise and fall, the lesson remains unchanged, because it ends. It matters. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not that life is impermanent, but that we spend so much of it rehearsing pain instead of living fully. Right pointing arrow visual cut. A restless figure in bed. Phone glowing with typing before it vanishes into silence. 1. Universal problem. When we wait for a reply that never comes. A simple delay feels like a storm. An unread email. A message marked seen without a response. Or a last-minute change in plans. These small events can send our heart racing. Not because we're fragile, but because we care. We invest our emotions, our hopes, and our trust into people and situations. And yet, the very act of caring often hardens into chains when we forget one basic truth. Everything changes. Think of how many nights you've lain awake replaying a silence. You send a message, you see the double check marks, but no answer. The mind invents stories. Did I do something wrong? Did something happen? Am I being ignored? That cascade of worry is less about the silence itself and more about our resistance to uncertainty. In Buddhist teaching, this is upādāna, clinging. We want the story to be fixed, the answer to be known, and the future to be stable. When life refuses to obey, our attachment becomes the source of suffering. The Buddha once compared this to holding a lute string too tight. If the string is stretched rigid, it snaps. If it's too loose, it makes no sound. The art of living is the middle way, caring without clinging, loving without imprisoning. A parent knows this paradox well. You care so deeply for your child that even a 5-minute delay in them walking through the door feels like an eternity. But the more you try to control their every step, the more you, and they, suffer. Love, when mixed with grasping, becomes fear. Astrology tells a similar story through Mercury retrograde. a time famous for miscommunications, delayed emails, or broken travel plans. Whether or not one believes in the planet's pull, the symbol is clear. The universe often disrupts our tidy schedules to remind us we're not in control. People across cultures noticed this. In folktales, a farmer may lament a broken cart only to discover later that the delay saved his life from a band of thieves. The message is timeless. Uncertainty isn't always an enemy. In meditation, we can practice loosening this grip. Imagine sitting quietly, your phone face down. You notice the craving to flip it, to check if the message has arrived. Instead, you breathe, you name the feeling, waiting, worrying, longing. By shining light on the habit, you weaken its hold. You start to see the truth. The mind's panic is not about the message itself but about the illusion that things must stay as we want them. When we catch that illusion in the act, we begin to soften. Stories from the Buddha's life carry this wisdom. Once, a grieving mother brought her dead child to the Buddha, begging him to bring the boy back. The Buddha didn't argue or preach. He simply asked her to find a household in the village that had never experienced death. She searched all day and returned empty-handed. Only then did she see the truth. Change and loss touch every family. In that recognition, her chains of despair loosened. The teaching was not abstract, it was lived. Our everyday worries are less dramatic but built on the same structure. We resist impermanence. We want the email to arrive, the plans to hold, the silence to end quickly. But life, like the moon in its phases, waxes and wanes. A relationship may be full one week and cool the next. Not because it's doomed but because change is its nature. The astrologer reads these cycles in the sky. The Buddhist monk reads them in the heart. Both point to the same truth. Permanence is the illusion. Flow is the reality. Even in folk wisdom, there's a reminder. Grandmothers tell stories of rivers. You cannot step into the same water twice. One day it is gentle. The next day it is fierce. If you try to command the river to be calm forever, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you learn to float, even turbulence becomes bearable. In the same way, learning to ride the shifts of daily life turns anxiety into resilience. The silence after a message is no longer proof of rejection. It's simply another wave in the river. So when your chest tightens at the delay of an email, remember, it's not a judgment of your worth. It's impermanence showing its face. And when you breathe into that awareness, you move from panic to presence. You still care, but you're no longer enslaved by caring. This is the subtle freedom that Buddhism invites us to taste, a freedom hidden not in grand revelations, but in the very pauses and silences of our daily lives. 2. Reverse insight. Our ancestors survived because their bodies were wired to stay alert. The rustle in the bushes could mean a predator. The smell of smoke could signal fire. Hypervigilance was protection, and worry kept them alive. But in today's world, the same ancient alarm system reacts not to tigers but to an unread email. A 3-dot typing bubble that disappears. Or a calendar change. The nervous system doesn't know the difference between a life-threatening danger and a delayed text. So we carry the same tension in our chest as if the fate of our survival depended on someone calling us back. Instead of protecting us, this mechanism drains us. The quote is sharp and true. Worry doesn't keep us safe. It steals the present. Think of how many times you've sat with your phone in your hand. Heart racing, because someone hasn't responded. The body floods with adrenaline, as if an enemy were approaching. But the only enemy is silence. This is the mismatch between old biology and modern life. It's like trying to use a spear to fight a notification. The weapon doesn't fit the battle, so we exhaust ourselves. Buddhism has long pointed to this paradox. The Buddha explained that suffering doesn't come from the outside threat alone. It comes from the mind's grasping and resistance. A hunter in the forest may be cautious, but once the danger passes, he breathes easy again. Modern people, however, carry the hunt inside their pockets. Every ping of a phone prolongs the hunt. We never put down the spear. That's why our ancestors, who faced lions, might have actually slept more peacefully than we do in our safe bedrooms. Astrology, 2. Mirrors this story. When Mercury is in retrograde, astrologers say miscommunication, delays, and technical glitches rise. Whether one believes the stars truly influence us or not, the symbolism is clear. The universe disrupts our constant control. The ancients looked at the sky and accepted that cycles of confusion and breakdown were part of life. They didn't expect perfection every day. Today, we panic if the Wi-Fi is slow. The cosmic message is still the same: life moves in cycles. And worry won't stop them. There's a Zen parable about a man chased by a tiger. He runs until he reaches a cliff. Hanging from a vine, he sees another tiger below. Two dangers, past and future. Then he notices a strawberry growing on the vine. Instead of collapsing in fear, he plucks the strawberry and eats it, savoring the taste. This story isn't about ignoring danger. It's about refusing to let fear steal the present. Our ancestors faced tigers, but the lesson applies to us with emails and deadlines. If you can taste the strawberry, this moment, this breath, then even while uncertainty looms, you've won back your life. In meditation, this insight becomes practical. You sit, the mind spins its stories. What if I fail tomorrow? What if they never reply? You notice the thought. You don't fight it, don't feed it, you let it drift, like a cloud passing through the sky. Slowly, the body learns. Not every rustle means danger. Not every silence means rejection. You return to the present, not the imagined tiger. Not the phantom threat, but the real ground under your seat. The breath filling your lungs. Even folktales echo this wisdom. In one story, a villager frets all night because his cow has wandered off. At dawn, the cow returns on its own, leading two calves. His night of worry changed nothing. Reality unfolded on its own rhythm. Worry stole his rest, but not the outcome. This is the heart of the paradox. Worry doesn't shield us, it robs us twice. Once of peace and once of presence. So the reversal is clear. What once kept us alive now wears us down. The alarm system hasn't updated to modern life, but our awareness can. Buddhism, astrology, meditation, and folklore all converge on the same point. The mind can unlearn the reflex to panic. When we stop treating every delay like a tiger, we free ourselves to live the moment in front of us. That is the only safe place there ever was. Free. Buddhist solution. In Buddhism, the teaching of anicca, or impermanence, is not some distant philosophy, it's the pulse of our daily life. Everything is in motion. Our bodies are constantly changing, every second. Millions of cells die and millions more are born. Neuroscience confirms what the Buddha saw 2.500 years ago. We are not fixed creatures, but rivers of process. You could say the universe itself practices impermanence. Stars are born in brilliant explosions, burn brightly for ages, and collapse into silence. Nothing resists change, not galaxies, not people, not even the thoughts racing in your mind right now. Yet here is the paradox. We know things change, but we live as if they shouldn't. This is where upādāna, clinging, enters. Imagine holding sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. We do this with relationships, jobs, health, even with our identities. A wrinkle appears on the forehead and suddenly it feels like a personal betrayal. A friendship cools, and we grasp to restore it to its perfect state. The pain does not come only from the change itself, but from the desperate refusal to let change be. This refusal gives birth to dukkha, that deep sense of unsatisfactoriness. It's not just suffering in the dramatic sense, like heartbreak or illness. Dukkha is also the subtle tension you feel when your coffee isn't hot enough, when traffic slows you down, when your phone battery dies right before an important call. These small frustrations pile up because, deep down, we expect life to flow according to our script. When it doesn't, the gap between what we demand and what actually is, that is dukkha. The Buddha taught that behind this clinging lies a mistaken view, the belief in a solid, permanent self. This is anattā, or not self. Most of us think in terms of my body, my career, my future, but what we call I is really a shifting constellation of conditions, memories, moods, biology, habits. Just as a river is never the same 2 moments in a row, neither are you. This realization isn't meant to erase individuality, but to soften the ego's grip. When the self is seen as fluid, disappointments sting less. If today's me fails, tomorrow's me is already different. Think of the moon. Astrologers read its phases as symbols of life's ebb and flow. A full moon bursts with light but soon wanes into darkness. None of us panic when it happens. We know it's part of the cycle. Yet when our own life waxes and wanes, When love blossoms and then fades, we often resist. The moon reminds us, fullness is temporary. Emptiness is temporary, too. Both belong to the rhythm of existence. There's a folk story about a farmer whose horse runs away. The neighbors say, "What bad luck?" The farmer replies, "Maybe." The next day the horse returns with 3 wild stallions. "What good luck?" the neighbors exclaim. Again, the farmer says, "Maybe." Later, his son breaks his leg taming one of the stallions. Terrible luck. But soon after, soldiers come recruiting for war. And his son is spared. Each twist reveals the same truth. Things are never fixed. What we cling to as good or bad shifts shape with time. A short meditation can make these teachings real. Sit quietly and focus on the breath. Notice how each inhale begins, rises, and fades into the exhale. You don't control its ending, it simply changes. Now listen to the sounds around you. The hum of a fan. A bird call. Maybe distant traffic. Each sound arises, stays for a moment, and disappears. As you observe, you realize everything is following this pattern, arising, persisting, dissolving. Even the worry in your chest follows the same law. It, too, will pass. Science adds its own chorus. Physicists tell us that the atoms in your body were once inside stars. Biologists remind us that most of our cells are replaced every few years. The person who sat in your chair 5 years ago, genetically, neurologically, is not the same as the one reading this today. Buddhism, science, folklore, even the stars in the sky, all echo one truth. Nothing is fixed. So when the Buddha spoke of impermanence, clinging, suffering, and not self, he wasn't offering abstract theory. He was offering medicine. He was saying, stop fighting the river. The pain comes not because the river flows, but because we insist it must stay still. The cure begins the moment we loosen our grip and let life move as it always has. 4. Practical practice. When worry takes hold, the mind wants to sprint into the future, rehearsing every disaster. That is why short practices, so simple they can be done at your desk or in bed, are powerful. A 60-second exercise can change the whole texture of your day. The breath becomes your anchor. Inhale slowly, whispering inwardly, "This is worry." Exhale gently, saying, "In this moment, I am safe." The fear doesn't vanish instantly. But you've interrupted the spiral. You've reminded your body that the present, right here, is bearable. It's like teaching an old guard dog that the mailman is not a threat. The Buddha often compared the mind to a restless monkey. Vipassana, or insight meditation, is the training that helps us watch the monkey without chasing it. Sit quietly and notice your breath. Each inhale has a beginning, middle, and end. Each exhale does too. Then shift your attention outward. Listen. A car passes. A bird chirps. A neighbor's door closes. Each sound arises, lingers for a beat, then dissolves. If you stay with it long enough, you see the pattern. Everything is coming and going. Thoughts, sensations, even the anxiety in your chest follow the same rhythm. This is not theory. It is something you can feel. A Zen story tells of a monk who was asked how he practiced mindfulness. He answered simply, "When I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I sleep, I sleep." The beauty is in the ordinariness. You don't need a mountain cave. You can practice in line at the grocery store, feeling the soles of your feet. You can practice at the kitchen sink, sensing the water on your hands. This is Vipassana lived in the middle of modern chaos. Every ordinary act is an invitation to step out of worry and back into presence. Adding compassion transforms the practice further. Metta, or loving kindness, is the gentle widening of the heart. After you breathe with your own fear, you can quietly say, "May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be free." Then picture someone you love and repeat, "May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be free." Finally, stretch the circle wider, to the colleague who annoyed you, to the stranger stuck in traffic beside you, even to people you will never meet. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. In that moment, your worry shrinks because your heart has grown larger than it. Astrology offers a poetic echo here. During a full moon, emotions rise like high tides. People often feel restless, sensitive, even anxious. But ancient sky watchers saw this not as a curse, but as a reminder. Just as the moon swells and recedes, so do our feelings. The practice of metta is like adjusting to these lunar tides. When emotions are high, instead of being swept away, you stand on the shore and bless the waves as they pass. You realize you are not the tide, you are the witness of its rhythm. Folk wisdom also teaches through small parables. A grandmother once told her granddaughter, "When you carry a hot coal, you burn twice, once from the fire, once from refusing to let go. Our worries are like those coals. The 60-second breathing practice is the act of opening your hand. Vipassana is noticing the heat without judgment. Metta is choosing to pass warmth to others instead of flame. Step by step, these small practices turn anxiety into tenderness. To try this now, pause for a single minute. Inhale. This is worry. Exhale. I am safe in this moment. Then sit quietly and notice 3 sounds around you. Let them come and go without chasing them. Finally, picture one person, anyone, and wish them well. May you be at ease. That's it. In just 60 seconds, you've practiced the whole path: awareness, insight, compassion. If you repeat it throughout the day, even while waiting for a late reply or standing in line, worry loosens its grip. You remember that peace is never somewhere far away, it's always one breath. One thought of kindness, one moment of presence away. 5. The truth of impermanence. Impermanence often sounds like a heavy truth. Everything passes. Everyone we love will someday leave. Every joy fades. But Buddhism flips the perspective. Because everything is limited, everything becomes precious. If flowers bloomed eternally, no one would stop to admire them. Their beauty moves us precisely because we know it won't last. That fragility is what makes us pay attention. A parent remembers a child's first steps not because walking is rare, but because those steps will never happen again in quite the same way. The ordinary becomes extraordinary once you realize it cannot be repeated. The Buddha's final words carried this reminder: all conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with heedfulness. He wasn't being gloomy, he was urging us to wake up. Life's fleeting nature isn't an enemy, it's the reason we should live more awake, more intentional. Stoic philosophers said the same in their own language: memento mori. Remember you will die. The point isn't fear, but clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Loss is only change, and change is nature's delight." The brevity of life is not meant to paralyze us but to sharpen our sense of what matters. Think about how you act when you know time is limited. If a friend is visiting for only one day, you savor the meal together more deeply. If you realize your parent is aging, you may start calling them more often. Impermanence doesn't make these bonds meaningless, it makes them urgent. Because the clock is ticking, forgiveness becomes easier, arguments feel smaller, and kindness feels necessary now, not later. Astrology offers a poetic mirror to this truth. The moon waxes and wanes, never staying in fullness. A full moon is breathtaking precisely because we know it will shrink into darkness again. Solar eclipses move people to tears because they are rare, brief, and never identical. The stars themselves remind us, beauty and awe are born from impermanence. If the sun stood still in the sky, we would stop noticing its light. It is the daily setting and rising, the constant change, that makes it sacred. Buddhist stories often carry this lesson. A monk once asked his teacher why the human heart suffers so much from change. The teacher pointed to a cherry blossom tree. Because it ends, it matters, he said. If it bloomed forever, would you still feel joy when you see it? The monk understood. Fragility creates appreciation. Every falling petal is a lesson in how to love without clinging. You love more fiercely not because you can hold on, but because you know you can't. In meditation, this can be tasted directly. Sit quietly and notice one breath. Inhale, then exhale. That breath will never return. You cannot save it, no matter how much you want to. And yet, its very passing gave you life. Practicing like this, you start to see impermanence not as a thief but as a gift bearer. It tells you, pay attention. This won't come again. The laugh with a friend, the morning sunlight on your skin, even the worry in your chest, each has a birth and a death. When you realize this, you stop postponing your life. Folk wisdom also carries the same insight. In one tale, a king asked his sages to craft a sentence that would be true in every situation. In joy or in sorrow. They returned with 4 words: this too shall pass. When things go well, it reminds us not to cling. When things go badly, it reassures us that pain is not forever. This simple phrase echoes across cultures because it captures the heart of impermanence. So impermanence is not a reason to despair but a reason to care more deeply. If this conversation, this day, this meal could be the last, why not be fully present for it? If the people we love might not always be here, why not hold them closer today? The end is not the enemy of meaning. The end is the creator of meaning. Because it ends, it matters. Life never promised us eternity, it only promised us moments. And those moments are gifts. Instead of asking, what will I lose? The deeper question is, how can I love today? Because in the end, the measure of our days is not what slipped away, but how much compassion we dared to give while we had the chance. Here on Dharma Veins, our practice is simple. Notice the impermanence, let go of the grasping, and live fully in the presence of now. The Buddha's timeless teaching reminds us, there is no fear for one whose mind is not filled with desires. In that spirit, may we all loosen our grip just a little, so peace has room to enter. And as we close, let us hold a prayer together. May all beings, in every corner of this fragile world, find safety amidst storms, find refuge amidst war, and find hope amidst despair. May those caught in suffering remember that even the darkest night is temporary, and the dawn will come. This is not just my prayer, it is the compassion of the Buddha echoing across centuries. Now I turn to you, our community. What do these reflections stir in your heart? How do you remind yourself to love more deeply in a life that never stands still? Share your wisdom in the comments, because your story may be the medicine someone else needs tonight. Sparkles, write one sentence of loving kindness to yourself below. Transform your worry into a reminder of love. Sparkles. And if this message spoke to you, please subscribe to Dharma Veins. Share this video with someone who needs peace. And join us as we continue to walk the path of wisdom, compassion, and awakening together.